Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be a review of the new Jaclyn Hill and Morphe Volume 2 palette. I'm going to be comparing it to Volume 1, give you guys swatches of everything, a tutorial on this eye look using this palette, all my thoughts about this palette, everything that went into this, formulas, everything like that. So if you guys want to know everything about the new Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette, then just keep on watching. Alright, so before we get into the actual review of the palette, I do want to give you guys some insight on what actually led me to buy this palette, because I have been going on some rants on my channel in the past couple months, or at least like last year I was going on a couple rants about the whole Jaclyn Hill lipstick situation. I did buy her lipsticks last year. Obviously that all didn't work out and it was just a very annoying situation. I did not like how she handled it. I've gone on several rants. Maybe I'll link some of them below. And I was actually really surprised when she announced this release. I still haven't purchased from Jaclyn Hill Cosmetics. I didn't buy her highlighters. I still don't know how I feel about purchasing from Jaclyn Hill Cosmetics, but I felt more comfortable because this was another collab with Morphe. Now, I do know that she had the Vault collection, what was it, summer of 2018 or 17, and that ended up being a flop as well. But I feel like at this point, it has to come out right. Like whatever she releases next has to come out right. So I'm like, there's no way this palette is gonna flop as well. And I even told myself, if this palette ends up being a flop, if it gets recalled, if I have to delete this video, I'm not even gonna be mad about it, because I knew that this was like a pattern, but I'm really hoping that's not the case. I feel like really good about this palette. I just wanted to get that out there. This palette has actually been surprising me so far. Even when I purchased this palette, I was a little bit like hesitant or skeptical. I saw that this palette was being released. I watched all of Jaclyn's videos that have come out in the past couple weeks. I really like that she has opened up a lot and shared a lot of like her processing and her mentality behind everything that happened in the past year, and that made me feel better about purchasing from her again. And especially because I've told you guys a lot in the past, like I love Jaclyn Hill. I've loved her for so many years, but I just hated a lot of the way things were handled in the past year. So I was excited to support her again, at least through this Morphe collab. I don't know how I feel about buying from Jaclyn Hill Cosmetics. And it was also one of those things where when I watched her reveal video about this palette, and she was talking about when the original palette came out like 2 years ago, and kind of a little bit of the drama behind that, because when the original palette came out, it was after Jaclyn had some drama with Becca Cosmetics, and those palettes were being recalled, and so there was a lot of pressure for her to do well with this palette. There was some drama with this palette too, but it ended up being a really good success. And I'm like, I hope that this Volume 2 palette is that of this year. I hope that like launches a really good year for Jaclyn Hill and gets her right back on track with releasing good products. I'm really confident that this is gonna go well. That's what I'm really hoping. I'm trying to put those vibes out there, because I bought this palette because I wanted it. I thought that it looked nice. I was excited to have a new palette to play with. I didn't want to buy something hoping or thinking that it was gonna go badly or it was gonna get recalled or anything. Like, I don't have that kind of time in my day to buy things that I think are gonna fail. So I'm really hoping there's no drama with this, putting that out there. So that's basically how I feel about everything at this point. I definitely appreciate the recent videos that Jaclyn has posted on her YouTube. I feel like just giving us some insight on her feelings towards the past year and how she wants to move forward is very, very helpful. It definitely makes me want to see a lot of success from her in 2020. I'm hoping that this palette is the start of that. So that's where I am with everything that's gone on. And definitely feel free to let me know your thoughts as well in the comments. I've always been pretty like honest about how I feel about everything since the lipstick situation. I've gone on several rants about this as well. And you guys are always really respectful about letting me know your opinion, even if it's the complete opposite. And I always like to have a conversation with you guys and just like let you guys know my perspective and see like the different perspectives as well. So feel free to chime in the comments, as long as it's like respectful, as even if it's completely different. Definitely let me know, because I'm always interested in hearing your thoughts about situations like this. But yeah, that is gonna be everything for all of the drama. Let's actually get into the palette. So this palette is the same size as the original palette. It is a $39 palette, 35 shades. So both of them are the same amount of shades, same price and everything. And then the volume 2 palette is mostly a matte palette. It has 24 mattes and 11 shimmer shades. The original Jaclyn Hill palette has 18 mattes and 17 shimmers. So you're getting definitely a lot more mattes in here, a lot more colors in here as well. I'm gonna go ahead and insert swatches of all 5 rows, starting off with the first row, which is mostly gonna be your neutrals, your transition shades, your brow bone highlight, your base, basically all of your basics in the palette. And then moving into the second row, we're getting into a lot of our warm tones, some more shimmers. Some of my favorite lid colors are in the second row, and then some more like orangey transition shades. Then next up in the third row, we have more of our pops of pink and orange, more neon shades, a lot more matte as well, and a couple more matte browns. And then next up in the fourth row, we get into some of the purple shades, some of the hot pinks, some more neon colors, and a couple shimmers. And then lastly in the fifth row, we have mostly purple shades, some of our deeper transition shades, but basically you're gonna get all of your deep purples and burgundies. So those are all 35 shades in the palette. I do wanna also note that some of the shades, some of the mattes, especially the pinks and the purples, are gonna be pressed pigments. If you're not familiar with pressed pigments, basically they're not technically eye safe. They're usually labeled as like a makeup palette, like a face palette, but not technically an eyeshadow. You find this in like the Alyssa Edwards palette from Anastasia, some of the shades in the Jackie Aina palette from Anastasia. I have a ton of palettes that have pressed pigments. They're technically not eye safe, but obviously like I'm gonna use them for my eyes. Most people do as well. I don't have an issue with that. Like earlier today, I was swatching everything. You could probably tell like my hands are still a little bit stained. Sometimes they do end up staining your eye. They might irritate your eyelid. So that's just something to know about the palette as well, in case you guys are curious about the different formulas and you just want to be careful if you are more sensitive to pressed pigments. I'm just gonna use the entire palette on my eyes personally. I never have an issue with any pressed pigments. I always use them as eyeshadow, but did just want to say that in case you guys are curious. Also on the back of the packaging, it does note it, but in a very very non-specific way. I feel like they should be a little bit more clear about what is a pressed pigment. Basically, it's just like a picture of an eye over the pressed pigment and then like a slash through it. So I feel like definitely in the packaging, they could have been a little bit more specific. I'm pretty sure that on other palettes, it does say like these certain shades are not meant for eye use or something. So I did want to note that because I found it very vague on the packaging, in case you guys are curious. And Jaclyn did mention in her video that there were pressed pigments in the palette, but I don't believe that she said anything about pressed pigments not being eye safe or anything like that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but watching her video, I just didn't hear anything like that. But just wanted to point that out there. Personally, I don't care. I'm gonna use every shade in the palette on my eyes. I've never had an issue with pressed pigments. I've never had an issue with staining or anything. All right, so let's get into a comparison of volume 1 and volume 2. So you guys can see them side to side. I'll just go ahead and get out of the way here so you can see. Let's do this, yeah. That makes a lot more sense. So there is a comparison of both. You can see, obviously, volume 1 has a lot more like muted, more neutral, wearable everyday shades. Obviously you get all your brights in volume 2. There's some purples in volume 1, but honestly there are no identical purples in volume 1 and volume 2. Volume 1 also has some like greens and blues. You don't get any greens and blues in volume 2. And then of course you're gonna have some overlap with the neutrals. That's where some of the shade comparisons come in. But overall, they're very different palettes. So let me go ahead and tell you what all of the comparisons are. On here, we have volume 2, and on this side, we have volume 1. So the first shade similarity is Ride or Diamond, and that's kind of similar to the shade Obsessed from volume 1. Honestly, they're still pretty different. Like, they're different textures. It's a different formula a little bit. This side is a little bit more foiled. Some of the shimmers in the Jaclyn Hill volume 2 palette, they're both Jaclyn Hill palettes, but volume 2 has a little bit more of textured, more foiled shades, and volume 1 has more of those like true shimmer shades. But Ride or Die, and then Obsessed, and then we have the shade Homebody and Hunt. Then we have the shade Drama Queen, and that is what's on my lid today. And that's similar to Smoky but Natural from the first palette. We have Paolo, which just makes me think Sing to Me Paolo from the Lizzie McGuire movie. And then Cran Apple from Volume 1. And then just a standard black shade. Like, this is how hard it was for me to find like similarities between both palettes. So we have Temperance and Abyss from Volume 1. And then the last similarity is these burgundy shades. We have Crazy from Volume 2 and Jax from Volume 1, but even this is like a little bit more brick tone. But those are all the similarities, basically just like a couple neutrals, like a black, a brown, very, very just standard shades that you're gonna find across most palettes. So I was really impressed by the lack of similarities between both because they're really completely different palette. In terms of the formula, for Volume 2, you are going to get some more pressed pigment. I actually don't think there's any pressed pigments in the first palette, but you're going to get a lot more pressed pigments in this range over here. A lot of the pinks and the purples in here are pressed pigments, so the formula is going to be a little drier, so it really pops out a bit more, but it's not the same formula as the standard matte. And then the shimmer shades, you have like this pressed glitter. Talia, you don't have any pressed glitters in the Volume 1, so you're going to get a little bit more of a textured feel with some of the other shimmers in here. Like the shade I have on my lid today, Drama Queen, this is like a little bit of more of a foiled shadow, whereas in the original palette, if I swatch a couple of the shimmers, they're definitely more of like a smooth satin feel. Whereas some of the shimmers in Volume 2, if not all of the shimmers, have a bit more of a foiled feel to them. They're a little bit chunkier, not necessarily in a bad way. I think that they pop out on the eye a little bit more because they have that textured feeling to them, but it is a little bit of a different formula. I love them both. I think they both apply great. They both look great on the eyes, but you are getting a little bit of a different feel with the shimmers in Volume 2. And the mattes, the standard mattes are the same in both, but then you also have those pressed pigments in Volume 2 of those bright neon shades that are going to apply a little bit differently. But overall, I would say that the formula is pretty much the same. In terms of the quality, I think the quality is great in both formulas. All right, so that wraps up all of the comparisons. Let's get into the tutorial so you guys can see how I did this eye look today using the Volume 2 palette. All right, so getting into the palette, I'm going to start off with the shade Certified, this like eggshell matte color. I just set my eyes, or prime my eyes with concealer. This is very light of a shade. But I primed and set my eyes already. I just want to go over to make sure my eye base is not tacky at all, especially because I'm going to go in with like some really pigmented deeper shades. And then to start off, I'm going to go in with, let's do Comfort Zone as the transition shade, this middle one. And I want to play around with some of these purpley tones, but I still want it to be kind of warm. So I'm going to start off, and this one is very, very pigmented. So I want to go in a little bit lighter, but it does have a little bit of like that pinky undertone, so it's going to match some of those warmer purple shades. And I am just going to diffuse this up a little bit higher just because I am going to do a little bit more of a colorful look, and I want it to fade into my brow bone a little bit more. I have found that the mattes are exactly the same as the Volume 1 palette. Like, you do get a decent amount of kick up, but you do get a lot of pigmentation. I haven't found like a lot of fallout on my face, just like in the pan. All right, next up I'm gonna go in with this shade Not My Journey. This is a matte, really deep purple shade. I just want to pack this onto my outer corner. I'm gonna layer a couple of the purples together, but I want to start off with this shade just in the outer third of my eye and just kind of blend it into my crease a little bit. And I believe this is one of the pressed pigments in the palette, so I just want to pack it on and then just start to diffuse it out lightly, because I know with pressed pigments they're a little bit drier of a formula, so if you blend them out too quickly it kind of just dissipates. This is definitely going to be pretty colorful, but I really love like a warm purple look, and then it transitions with that like more pinkish matte color I put down first. I just want to add a couple more of the purple shades. I'm going to go in with Therapy Sesh. I just started off a little bit right in my inner corner because I wanted to see if I was going to like that. I'm just taking like a little flat shader brush just to add like more than one shade of purple so it transitions from like light to dark. And I'm just going to take a clean brush. This is a Morphe M434. I just want to blend everything together a little bit more because it's getting a little unblended. So just diffuse that out, and then I'm going to go in with a lid color. All right, so for my lid color, I'm going to go in with a Morphe M124 and some Smashbox Primer Water to wet my brush. And I'm going to go in with this shade. This is actually one of my favorite lid colors in the palette. This is the shade Drama Queen. It's kind of like a cool tone-ish purpley pink shade. Start packing that onto the lid. This is giving me like very much Barbie vibes for sure. I do want to apply something. Oh, I know what. I'm gonna go in with this shade, this like shimmery purple as well at some point, but let's get this onto the lid and see. Let's start with a halo eye, honestly, just because I did that already, and see where we want to go from there. Okay, I really like that in the center. I just need to like connect the dots so it's not so random. Let's go back in with Therapy Sesh over here. Yeah, let's do that. And just make that really stand out in my inner corner. Well, that looks interesting. I don't know if it's blended enough. But let me just go in. I'm just using that same brush without any extra product that I used for Drama Queen. All right, so I'm gonna go in with this shade A Moment, and I'm just gonna apply this with my finger. I think if I use a damp brush, it's gonna look too, this is actually really pretty. It's gonna look too harsh, like it's gonna be a bit more foil than I want it to be, but I just want it to be like a little pop of foil on the outer edge. Oh, I like this. I gotta do a little extra blending because it looks kind of crazy in some angles, but in some other angles it actually looks really good. So I'm just gonna pack on a little bit more of Drama Queen to really make that stand out. I carried this eye look pretty high, but I think once I add lashes and something on my lower lash line, it'll all come together. I'm gonna start off on my lower lash line with the shade Comfort Zone, and then I definitely want to use a bunch of the purple shades. I'm also gonna add in Therapy Sesh, and I think I'm just gonna go back and forth between Comfort Zone and Therapy Sesh so it doesn't get like too pink. It still has that warmth to it, yeah. I really hope I have lashes that are big enough to complete this eye look because I normally go for a very natural lash. So I'm gonna try to find something a little bit more interesting in my collection. I'm also gonna finish off the lower lash line with A Moment. I always like to do a little bit of shimmer on the lower lash line, even if it's subtle, so it doesn't close off that part of my eye. All right, so let's take the shade I'm in it for my brow bone highlight. I normally don't like a very light brow bone highlight, but why not since it's the one in the palette. I'm gonna add this to my inner corner too, but I will probably end up adding another highlighter in my inner corner just because whenever I do something super, super colorful, yeah, that's okay, but I wanna add something else too because whenever I do something that's a lot of color, I really want my inner corner to pop. I also just whipped out this deep purple eyeliner from Smashbox. Let's add that to the waterline. I'm just finishing off with some mascara, and I really wish that I had like a neon lilac or something eyeliner because this dark eyeliner, I wish I didn't put it on because it is pretty deep. All right, so I just threw on some lashes. I'm wearing the Kiss Naked Drama in the style Lacy. I've never worn these before. I'm pretty sure I cut one a little bit shorter than the other, but hopefully it looks okay. And then I made one little edit to the eyeliner. I just added blue eyeliner in my waterline instead of the purple. I just felt like the purple was like, basically it looked black. So I just wanted a little bit of pop. This is the most standout eyeliner that I own in my collection. I need to get on my eyeliner game. And also my highlight is All Blown Up from Wet n Wild. I just wanted to add a little in my inner corner too, just to make it like pop out a little bit more. I will fix this ponytail situation eventually. Hopefully my eyeshadow looks better than my ponytail. And then I want to do Bear. Let's try this out. From Jouer. I love this because it's a super nude, and I love a super nude with like big bold eyes. And this is also a little peachy, so it's gonna tie in. I'm like so hype about this eye look now. And again, another day. Every day I do a really bold makeup look. All I'm doing tonight is like cooking up some scallops, which I guess deserves this purple eye look, but I'm not going anywhere. So I'm definitely happy with this lip color. I feel like it just cleans up and polishes this look. My lipstick is so old. I think it's like 4 years old, and it's really dry, so it makes my lips look like extra dry. So I'm gonna go in with the Dior Lip Maximizer. This is just like the nude shade. All right, fix the hair, and yay-ish. Yay, I like my makeup. All right, so to wrap things up, I am very happy with this palette. I'm very excited about it. The more I play with all the shades in this palette, the more excited I am about it. I think I'm gonna get a lot of use out of this palette. This is the first colorful look that I'm doing with this palette, but I have done a full day of wear with like a bunch of these neutral shades as well. So you can definitely get a very wearable day-to-day look. Even when I tried out the palette for the first time, just using like some of these transition shades, I thought that they were a little too orange, a little bit not neutral enough. But honestly, once you layer them together with some of these like neutral lid colors, you can get a very standard, everyday 5-minute eye look with no problem whatsoever. So I am very happy with the palette. I'm excited for it. I will say that I do personally prefer volume 1 compared to volume 2. This is just like more so my color palette. You guys know I wear neutrals all the time, but this makes me more excited to wear colorful looks because I don't do them too often, but when I do, I get very excited about them like I did about this eye look today. But overall, both of them are great palettes. They are very complementary of each other. The formulas are very comparable to each other. I know Jaclyn did say that it's the same formula, but there are a little bit of differences with the texture, but I will say that the quality and the standard and like how it feels like high-end and everything are the same within both palettes. I don't find them to be completely different. Like I have other Morphe palettes, and I do find that these are both way better formulas than just standard regular Morphe palette. Like they're more pigmented, better color payoff, better wear, and everything like that. So honestly, I don't have any complaints with this palette. I am very happy with it. I'm excited to keep using it. I think this is going to be really great for spring and summer to get into some more colorful, orangey, more warm tone looks as well. But that's gonna be everything for this video. I feel like there's a lot going on in this video, so I'm gonna wrap things up. Let me know your thoughts about this palette. Let me know if you guys ended up purchasing it. Let me know if you are liking it so far in the comments below. Oh, also I did do a comparison of the original Jaclyn Hill palette to the Morphe 350 and then also to the James Charles palette. So if you want to see some other comparisons of the Jaclyn Hill palette, I will link those in my description box too, and I'll also link both of these palettes below as well. But that's going to be everything for today's video. If you guys liked it, make sure you give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And I'll talk to you guys soon in my next video. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.